Hello, my dear friends, and welcome back to the channel. After a few days in Arequipa, we arrived in Cusco, a city in the Andean highlands, after a 9-hour overnight bus journey. We planned to stay in Cusco for a few days because it would be our base for a 5-day trek to Machu Picchu through the Sacred Valley and the Salcantay Mountains. But first, we needed to spend a few days acclimatizing to the altitude and exploring the culture of the area, its people, its food, its architecture, landscapes, its stories, and its way of life. Cusco was at one point the capital of the famous Inca Empire from the 13th to the 16th centuries, before the empire was destroyed by the Spanish conquest. Cusco and its surrounding Sacred Valley are the center of many legends, mythologies, and beliefs, from its origin stories to its role in how the Incas quickly became one of the most advanced ancient civilizations of our history. I'm particularly interested in learning about the Incas' connection to life and the cosmos, because time and time again on this trip, I have heard that for the Incas, harmony with nature was core to the system of values that the empire was founded on. And this system of values is what allowed them to become expert astronomers, agriculturalists, and engineers. An economic system that is aligned to harmony with nature. Now that's something that we're missing in our current way of life. After arriving at our guest house in Cusco, we quickly began our exploration of the city, starting with a strong cup of Peruvian coffee and some delicious breakfast. In the previous episodes, we looked in depth into the concepts of freedom and specifically freedom from the self. During my time in Cusco, I'd like to think about how this freedom from the self links to our ability to live in harmony with life. I have come here with the intention of feeling the presence of Mother Earth, or Pachamama, who is revered by the people of this place, and to learn from her about what it means to live a beautiful life and possibly find my place in her world. As we made our way towards Cusco's Mercado Central, I started to feel a somewhat elusive feeling that I have experienced a few times in the past, especially during my travels to places that are ingrained with rich cultures and a harmony with nature. An experience that I am only starting to scratch the surface in understanding. It's something that I call the rawness of life. The air around the market was filled with the buzz of 1,000 people bargaining for the best deal on some trivial household items. The endless honking of productive people stuck in traffic, trying to get quickly to where they need to be to do what they needed to do. I was overcome by the exotic blend of flavors and scents from fruits, spices, perfumes, cheeses, and seafood. As I meandered through the market, my body pulsed to the rhythm of various Peruvian folk tunes sung by market vendors and a mariachi band somewhere nearby. The market seemed to have spontaneously broken out into a celebration of sorts, coordinated by the market vendors in honor of one of their beloved neighbors' birthdays.
Chiquillo, ¿qué te pasa? Me dicen en la escuela y me preguntan en mi casa. Y hasta ahora lo supe de repente, doctor Milones me dejó y bajas calificaciones. Me recreo, quiero salir. No me divierto con nada.
Rawness of Life. It's a form of organized chaos when life plays out its fantasies unorchestrated and uninhibited. A tango being performed between all the characters of the scene in front of me with such grace and such passion. Each of them fully immersed in the purpose that drives this very moment. But why do I find such beauty in the rawness of life? So much more beauty experienced in a mere minute than perhaps a lifetime living in the urban sprawl that I call my home. I can't be alone in this experience. I think this has to be a feeling that is well known to the many wanderers of this world. After a drive of about an hour out of Cusco, we found ourselves in a textile weaving cooperative in the small Peruvian town of Chinchero. The shop was full of colorful scarves, toques, gloves, sweaters, and blankets, primarily hand-woven from the wool of alpacas, llamas, and the sheep of the region. Gracias. After welcoming us with some warm cocoa tea and cakes, the weavers proceeded to explain to us how the tradition and skill of weaving was passed down from mothers to daughters from generation to generation. And as the children spent time out in the fields with the grazing animals, they learned to spin wool. And what they learned during their childhood allowed them to earn a living during their adulthood. I couldn't help but be mesmerized by the intricate techniques used by these women to create the scarves and blankets, each of them taking apparently a month to complete. Everything is natural. Even the dye used to color the wool makes use of leaves, insects, flowers, and plants like corn. These people don't simply create to consume. For these women, the act of weaving is a form of prayer, a meditation. It is a way of life, living in balance with nature, taking from it only to give equally back to it.
Represent the lakes. Here in Chinchero we have two lakes, Piuray and Waipo lakes. That is represent the Inca calendar.
I think we generally tend to use the word beauty in the most superficial manner to express the extent of our preferences. But it would be lazy of me to be satisfied with this idea when my own experiences tell me that the beauty that arises from the rawness of life is something that is so much deeper than that. Take these ancient, enigmatic Incan ruins of Moray, for example. Busloads of people flock here every single day to see these man-made craters, and that is warranted as they truly are a spectacle to behold with the backdrop of these Peruvian mountains. There is an aesthetic beauty to it, for sure. Layer on top of that the mystery of what exactly Moray was built for, and how it was built around 10 centuries ago. Some say it was an irrigation system, an agricultural research area, a religious ceremonial center, or for the more creative ones, the site of an alien landing. But regardless of the theories, the fact is that people generally find this place to be beautiful. But where exactly does the beauty come from? Does it arise from the craters themselves, or is it created by the interaction of the craters with the fields around them and the mountains in the background? Is the beauty of Moray an objective property of itself? Oh my God. To pose this question more generally, is the beauty of something an objective property of the thing itself, and more broadly of the external world? Objective beauty seems to be the way most of us think of beauty, as an adjective, referring to how attractive something is. That's a beautiful woman, or these hills are so beautiful. We make it seem like this beauty that we refer to is contained in these things and it flows out of them naturally. Certainly, we know that not all things are beautiful. Some are, but others have a profound ugliness about them. If there is such an inherent property that exists in nature, then this is exactly what I'm trying to pin down. The next day, we woke up early in the morning to make our way to the famous Vinikunka, or the Rainbow Mountain, which stands at 5,036 meters above sea level. The mountain is popular because of its rainbow-like colors that come from various mineral deposits that give it its unique characteristic. I was really excited to climb this mountain, but first we had a 2-hour drive to get through. I think there is a serious logical error in this idea of beauty as an inherent objective property of the world. Objective properties should be unchanging, sensible, and measurable properties. My height, for example, is an objective property of myself. The specific heat capacity of the sand on a beach is an objective property of itself. We have scientific methods to measure these unchanging characteristics. Yet, we believe that the beauty of something is a measure of how attractive it is, but we have no way to generate a consensus between ourselves on what that means or how much beauty there actually is. Let's look at it from another angle. If beauty is indeed a property of something, it must then be equally beautiful to me whenever I'm in its presence. However, I know from experience that this is not always true. Take these mountains, for example. On days when my mind is at peace, I'm able to focus completely on the mountains and immerse myself in the wonder before me. I feel its beauty. Yet, at other times, I fail to have nearly as profound of an experience, perhaps because I have things on my mind that distract me. I fail to experience the beauty of the mountain as much. From this, it becomes clear to me that beauty is not an objective property of the world. My experience of objective properties like my own height or the heat of the sand on the beach does not change depending on my circumstances. Then how can these mountains or anything else in itself be beautiful? It must follow that it simply cannot. Beauty must be a subjective state of mind that we experience when we engage with the world and build relationships with it in specific ways that allow for it. Beauty is a feeling, a way of life. It exists within us, not the objects that we perceive. Somehow, when I engage with something like these mountains, its qualities generate within me, if I allow it, a feeling of beauty. A question that arises if we go down this line of thinking is, what exactly does a feeling of beauty even mean? For example, when I hike through these mountains, what I'm really feeling is a mixture of awe and peacefulness among other emotions. When I look at an artistic piece from Van Gogh, for example, I might feel visual pleasure and intrigue as to what the artist was thinking during his creative project. When I observe an act of kindness between strangers, I might feel compassion, empathy, and respect for mankind. Or when I lock eyes with an attractive stranger, I might feel excitement and perhaps a mysteriousness about them. A sad song, on the other hand, might create feelings of warmth, melancholy, and bittersweetness within me. A variety of emotions, all creating a similar sense of beauty. How can that be? You could argue that these emotions are in general quite arbitrary in relation to beauty. However, an important commonality in all these examples is that sense of harmony that they create in me. When I experience something beautiful, I lose my sense of self and time and simply immerse myself in the experience without much need for rational thought. So, we start to understand that what makes these emotions meaningful in relation to beauty is the value that we place on each of them. If I value awe and peacefulness in my life, then unconsciously, or maybe consciously with practice, I'll reflect what I value in life onto the qualities that these mountains exude. If I cherish the warmth of melancholy and bittersweetness, then I find comfort in reflecting these feelings onto music that encompass the qualities that resonate with these feelings. Neither these mountains, nor the song, nor anything with attractive qualities create these values in me. They already exist within me. I simply choose to reflect these values onto the world, not the other way around. If these values did not exist within me to begin with, I would not generate any beauty through these experiences. Hola. Hola. What's this? Someone who is restless and impatient is not going to experience the peacefulness that comes with sitting still and watching a sunset. Someone who does not believe in prayer will find no beauty in sitting alone in a church and trying to communicate with a God. Beauty comes from within us when we are able to reflect and align our values with the qualities of the world that we perceive. This reflection of my values onto the world around me is a harmonious relationship that I create with it. By doing so, the values of the subject become one with the qualities of the object. They are in alignment. And the more this alignment resonates, the more beautiful the world becomes. I'm able to identify in the object the values that make me who I am. My identity, being nothing more but a formulation of the values that I hold, dissolves as subject and object become one. When this alignment and resonance of values and qualities happens along with an instantaneous dissolution of self, a spark is created, beauty. When you experience something beautiful, you're simply in a flow state of awareness of the values that make up who you are. This clarity, I think, is quite powerful because it means we are not simply puppets in a world of beautiful and ugly categories. Beauty arises from within us. In fact, it already exists within us. We simply have to manifest it through the world that we live in. Ultimately, what this means is that we are in control of how beautiful life can be. After a grueling hike up to about 5,000 meters, we finally made it to the top of Rainbow Mountain. The weather changed quite quickly, and we found ourselves in a thick cloud cover that had suddenly blanketed the mountain. Even though the colors of the mountain weren't as vibrant as I had hoped, I found myself in complete awe of the landscape around me and the intense trek to the highest point I had ever been in my entire life. As I made my way back down the mountain, I tried to circle back to where I began this exploration and tie this new understanding of beauty back to my experiences in the markets of Cusco. Why do I find so much beauty in this rawness of life? I think I find beauty in these experiences because each and every instant in these experiences is brimming with life flowing unconstrained, uncurated. Life in its various forms thrives and is allowed to coexist in harmony with each other. In these experiences, life is allowed to exhibit all the qualities that are in its potential, qualities that we can then value to create beauty in the moment. It is the alignment of the values that we hold to the qualities of the universe and the objects that arise from it that creates beauty in our lives. The universe contains the infinite set of qualities that we could possibly perceive and align our values to. The ultimate limit of beauty, then, would occur when we are able to derive value from all of these universal qualities, the entire set. The larger the variety and the depth of these qualities that we expose ourselves to, the greater the potential to create beauty in our lives. I think I find beauty in my travels and experiences of cultures that live in harmony with nature precisely because life flows much more unconstrained, showing off all of its true qualities. I experience the rawness of life when I am simply an observer of the dance that is happening in front of me.